Okay, this is a segment about the hospital Orchard Hall in Findlay, Ohio. I went to on July 4th. I just put a video up about the before July 4th, 2010. I'm going to talk about July 4th, 2010 evening. I was taken to the hospital at Orchard Hall. At the hospital, what happened is I remember the prophecy on, I thought it was my wife, that mentioned an audible no, and I thought that meant to sing and chant, so I started singing and chanting. The hospital ordered me to take medicine. I refused to take any psychotropic medicines for the first several days, and then after a couple of days I said, if you bring me my wife, I would take medicine. And I'll take medicine only for 24 hours from seeing my wife. Once my wife is not seen anymore for 24 hours, I would stop taking the medicine. So they brought my wife in after about a day. I thought my wife, according to prophecy, was in California in medical experimentation as a punishment to me for emailing the Israeli Prime Minister, I thought at the time. I now know I was mistaken about my wife being kidnapped because she told me so. She said she was not kidnapped. She was not transported to California. I misunderstood the Bible code. It was my error I made on July 4th, 2010. However, July 2010, I was mistaken. I acted on misinterpreted information from the Bible code. So what happened is, with regards to the hospital, Orchard Hall in Findlay, Ohio, I was there for a week. At the middle of the week, then I was taking my medicine, and I didn't see my wife for about a day or so, and I stopped taking the medicine again. And I had no health insurance at the hospital. I'd signed myself off of their medical health insurance from Medicaid because I told in a letter dated in around April so 2010 that I did not believe in psychiatric care, I did not believe in medicine, except for rare exceptions. Very much I wanted to medicate myself with herbs, in particular herbs like lamentium, echinacea, golden seal, hyssop, um, tea tree oil, eucalyptus, and vitamins like vitamin C, B complex factors, calcium. Those are things I wanted to give myself to administer good health. And I wrote some of that up, or tried to explain part of that in some letters to Douglas Lumpkin, the director of Job and Family Services and Medicaid for the state of Ohio back in April or May of 2010. And so I signed myself off of Medicaid completely back then, and then I went into the hospital July 4, 2010 with no health insurance at all, nothing. And furthermore, I'm on SSI, so I have very little money in a health and wellness savings account with about, I'm guessing, between 0 and maybe $15 most loaded on it. And so I had pretty much no health insurance at all. And so I was in the hospital. The hospital was uh, medicating me with injected medicine and psychotropics against my will. I was not resisting. I was allowing them to inject me twice a day with psychotropics. I was having beyond vegetarian. I was having a vegan diet, meaning no egg, no milk, no meat, no fish, just simply eating vegetable and fruits and grains. Um, so I had a vegan diet there. Uh, they were good in terms of giving me my diet, but it wasn't a whole lot of variety, of course, because they weren't used to feeding vegans on a vegan diet. But anyway, so I was at that hospital by the seventh day. Apparently, they had a trial someplace here in the United States. I don't know where the trial was, but I know it was a trial because they wanted me to sign some papers, and initially I refused. I thought they would sign me over to become property of medical experimentation in California based on Bible code prophecy, and I refused initially to sign them. Just minutes before the trial was concluded, uh, probably the trial was about the email to the Israeli Prime Minister because they most likely thought I was a spy or a terrorist based on emailing Israel. So what happened is I signed a paper at the last minute just before the trial concluded, and I then was transferred. And before I was transferred, they put me in handcuffs on my arms, on my wrist. I mean, they put me on handcuffs. They put me handcuffs on my ankles, and they also put handcuff like a clamp around my neck. And they clamped all three of those clamps together, the big chain, and with a lock on that. And then they put me in a police officer's van and drove me, and didn't really tell me where I was going. I thought I was going to go to an airport to be sent out to California for medical experimentation. I then arrived at Northwest Ohio Psychiatric Hospital in Toledo, Ohio. At that hospital, I was admitted against my will. They tried doing an eye scan. Initially, I didn't trust them with that. I thought they were trying to implant RFID chip. I was confused. But just before I transferred from Findlay to Toledo, my mother came and visited me and tried telling me supposedly Bible code prophecy keywords. She told me some stuff that didn't make any sense that's supposedly from the Bible code. I tried memorizing it. There was stuff like the word detena to rhyme with Dr. That I had previously, Dr. Rutinsky. Dr. Rutinsky has a doctor back in 2009, 2010. Well, my mother came to the hospital before I got transferred to Toledo, here when I was in Findlay, and told me that was one of the keywords was detena, and it rhymes with Dr. Rutinsky. And so with that, I was confused what that meant. She told me something about my weight, about mentioning my weight and a good, healthy weight for me, and something about uh, insinuating about fasting, uh, and some other garbage that was supported in the Bible code, but now I know it had nothing to do with the Bible code, it was just lies. Now I believe that she signed a concordic with the President of the United States and Homeland Security, where they were trying to give me false information to confuse me, and so that I could be tried and sent to prison, supposedly for being a terrorist or a spy, which I am not a terrorist or a spy. But apparently Obama was confused about me as I was confused about the government and Obama and Homeland Security. So what happened is my mother gave me these keywords. She gave me a card printed on some paper that was having like cardstock of like a grocery bag that was paper, and it said the words resist. It had the word dance, and it had the word on it of another keyword on it that was something um, like sing or something like that. I forget exactly what it was at this very moment because I'm a little bit of pressure to sort of speak here, but something along those lines. And so it was confusing for me, but initially I thought maybe this was Bible code, but I wasn't really sure. I then we rode from Findlay to Toledo not knowing where I was going with a police officer. Uh, and they mentioned something about a number like 83 or some such number. I don't remember the exact number now, but some number. And it was something about the air conditioning or heating in the vehicle, and that was supposedly a keyword. And I got in the vehicle, and I pretty much prayed all the way from Findlay to Toledo, just praying there in the vehicle with the officer. There's a few moments I opened my eyes to look around to see what was going on around me, but for the most part, I just wanted to pray to Lord Jesus because I didn't know what was happening. I thought I was going to be sent to an airport and escorted in handcuffs on a plane to California to be used for medical experimentation against my will for punishment of emailing the Israeli Prime Minister. So what happened is that I got to Toledo, um, and what happened is I was so frightened of going to California for medical experimentation that I was asking the doctor, I wanted to ask the doctor about if I could volunteer for brain surgery as part of a condition of early parole or release from that facility so that I won't be sentenced to death. Oh, a very important detail, my mother was talking about at the first hospital in Findlay about getting a tooth infection and then dying during electroshock, and then it's all over at 3:29 p.m. It's all over. I thought I was supposed to die at the facility in California at a mental hospital or other experimental at the facility for experimental medicine, and I thought they were going to put me to death. And I thought part of the prophecy that my mom was speaking of was me having a tooth infection, and I was supposed to have that tooth get infected and then have electroshock and die from a tooth infection. And I thought that was my prophecy according to the Bible code, because that's what my mom told me I was supposed to do. And it turns out now that my mom was lying to me, that she was in a concordic with the President and Homeland Security to the best of my knowledge, and now I'm accused of being delusional because I'm getting this information from the Bible code prophecy. And this is what I believed back in 2010 in July 4th through several months. I believed that my mother had signed a concordic uh, and so forth in those months because of her behavior, because of her giving me information that was, as I found out, it was not of the Bible code. It was just lies and confusion that she had given to me to confuse me. So I was at the hospital in Toledo, NOPH, Northwestern Health Psychiatric Hospital. I got there approximately a week after July 4th, so I'm thinking I was there probably about the 12th day of July 2010 until the latter part of September, early October of 2010. So I was there for about 11 weeks in OPH. In that time, I was sexually assaulted by David Bellion after I signed a release of information for Barack Obama to access my medical records. And the hospital declared that they had to do on the PA system, a separation of medical records after I did that release of information with one of the scripting pens that had permanent ink on it that I signed release information of all personal and medical and personal records, past, present, and future, for President Barack Obama to access. The hospital was furious with me. They had some nurses escort me into the seclusion room. I went with them cooperatively. Then the nurses left, and then I was in there for a few minutes. Then David Bellion walked in alone with me, asked me if I was tested for hepatitis C recently. I lied to him and said yes 3 or 4 months ago because I thought he wanted to rape me. He walked towards me. I passed out. He was putting on gloves. He was smiling, walking towards me, alone in the room with him. I was frightened. I thought, oh, I'm going to be raped now. I woke up about 20 hours later, and I was clearly raped by David Bellion. And I tried to get help, and the hospital refused to help me. They claimed that the guards were willing to help me, but they would not. Um, all they did is collect the underwear. They didn't do anything in regards to any other exam or anything along those lines for me. And at the hospital, I was there for a number of weeks, getting injected twice daily for a number of weeks. I got sick of it at a point, and I then became a bit aggressive, and I'll explain that aggression. I thought that I needed to go to trial to explain the abuses I suffered at the hospital and to help save my wife from her getting medical experimentation, because at the time I was mistaken. I thought that my wife was getting medical experimentation against her will. I did not know that she was fine. I was mistaken. I had misunderstood her situation. It turns out that I was the one in danger, not her. So what happened is I grabbed the name badge of a nurse, and then he moved me over to a different wing on the same mental hospital, NOPH. At that wing, I was in another unit, the A100 unit. And I was there for about a day and a half. And then I was moved back to A400 unit, NOPH. And there's some more details I'm sort of skimping on now, but they're on my website, and some written documents I'll explain if you'd like to read about more detail. But anyway, so I was at NOPH, and the A400 unit moved back, and then I got calls from a woman claiming to be my wife. It turns out that she was not my wife. She was an imposter sent there and accompanied by my mother, and I thought she was my wife. My mother called her Melanie and acted as she was my wife to confuse me, and now my mother says that it was my wife, but it was not. and I checked my wife, and it was not her that was meeting that description, and it was clearly a different person that was trying to confuse me. And they're trying at the hospital to make me appear incompetent, and I'll get to the incompetency details in the next video.